Sharpen pencils, clear your desk. It's time to increase your nerdiness with Derek.
Hello, I'm Derek W. Truesdale. Welcome back to Increase Your Nerdiness. Great to have you again. Last time's lesson, I ended up splitting into a couple parts because it was sort of a big thing. You know, it's almost like two different topics, so I kind of cut the line and split them right in half. This time, we're discussing pull-down and pull-down removal. Something I've wanted to do for a while, but there's a lot of groundwork to lay first.
Excessive rant deleted from this section.
Pull-down. All right, now we've discussed pull-down in depth here on the podcast. The process of this 3-2 pattern that creates this sort of pseudo-interlaced stream of video, right? But there are kind of two kinds of it. There's hard pull-down, where you take one of these pseudo-interlaced frames, like if you were capturing from TV or whatever, and you just encode it as if it was interlaced. But it's not. Remember, it's sort of pseudo-interlaced. There's a better way to go about this. Now, there's another kind of pull-down that's soft pull-down. And many DVD players are doing this all the time. When you have a movie that's a 24p film coming out of Hollywood, or even your camera like the one I have, they, many times, and hopefully they did, because this is the best way to do it, they actually encode the MPEG, and each frame is progressively encoded as an individual frame. And only at the time of playback are these things called pull-down flags used, and it tells your DVD player to pull this down into a pseudo-interlaced stream. And so this is why we have progressive scan DVD players, because they have the ability to just read each frame individually without the pull-down. And those, of course, are better if you have a TV that can't display interlaced frames, like an LCD or a plasma monitor. And plus the quality is better. It's more efficient because you're not wasting bandwidth on this pseudo-interlacing thing. You're just going from the progressive frames. So, those are your two options. Your file could have either been hard pulled down, where you're going to have to do some processing later on, and we'll describe that in this video. And then there's the soft pull down, where you can actually ignore those pull down flags and get back to the original. Now, there's a way to load these up. We talked about it last week, and that is DG index. So here's DG index. Let's take a gander at the field operation buttons that we kind of grazed over last week, but now that we're discussing this issue of pull down and pull down removal, we'll know what this stuff means. Now, if we say honor pull down flags, we're not really going to change anything. We're just going to leave this as 29.97 video. But we have two other options, and we have ignore pull down flags and force film, which are essentially, it ends up doing the same thing. Although I guess I would just pick forced film if I was to do what we're about to describe. So if you use forced film, when appropriate, you will actually just get back to those originally encoded progressive frames without actually having to do any extra processing. It's just a matter of skipping by the flags. Forced film. Okay, so here's the deal. I have a couple different M2Vs called soft and hard. And so what I've done is, just to illustrate this, I've already saved some D2V, DG index project files, okay? Where we have hard pull down where I honored that pull down, hard pull down where I ignored it, soft and hard, you know, where I honored, and then soft where I honored and ignored. And we're going to see the difference right before our eyes, so don't worry. I guess it could get a little confusing, but I think seeing it helps you to understand it. That's the cool thing about AviSynth, isn't it? So first, let's do the one with hard pull down, okay? Well, if we honor pull down, let's show you what that is. That's I'll go to a part where I'm moving, kind of. And that's our regular 3-2 pattern, where you have nice clean frames and then 2 interlaced ones. See that? 1, 2, 3, 4 is a little bit of combing, 5. Okay. It's all blended together. You'll keep seeing that pseudo interlaced pattern. And that's a really weird phase. Wow. And let's go to the other one. If we were to ignore pull down, and this was hard pulled down and encoded that way, that would actually be a mistake, because I'm just going to scroll through, and what it does is it basically removes 1 frame out of every 5, but it does it kind of randomly. So like here, you have some combing, you know, a couple of those. Sometimes there'll just be 1 of them. It's sort of a really weird pattern, and you'll still have interlacing left in. So if something has experienced hard pull down, if your video file has, don't use forced film. However, I've got another MPEG that I've encoded, which uses soft pull down. Now, I don't need you to really show the honor pull down, because you know what would happen. We get that pseudo interlaced video. But if we just ignore pull down on this soft pulled down thing, then you'll see, as I scroll through here, that we have nice clean frames in order with no combing. Very nice. And that's how that works. So DG index is a wonderful way to just skip that processing step. And if you have a soft pulled down video, you can just get around that. Okay, so what about this case of the hard pull down? Okay, well, this is going to require another AviSynth filter, and that is I'm going to recommend the TIVTC package. Now, it's created by a guy that goes by the name of Tritical, and so that stands for Tritical's Inverse Telecine, TIVTC. See that? So you take tivtc.dll, and you know the story. You put it in your AviSynth plugins directory. All right, so let's see. We have our honor pull down, hard pull down file. We're going to drag this into AviSynth here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is bring up our script editor. And you can see I just loaded it up with MPEG-2 source. But we have a command called TFM, which is Tritical's field matcher. I'm going to refresh. And we're almost there. What it's done is it takes the fields that belong together. Because remember, if we just told it to ignore the pull down flags, there are just random frames missing and stuff. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's very easy to apply pull down because it's just a simple 3-2 pattern. But to undo it, you got to know which one's a 3 and which one's a 2. That's the issue here. So what we have here is our field matcher, and I'm going to scroll through this, and here's what happens. We're going to have, let's find, oh, I just saw a duplicate, all right? And the phone is ringing in the background. Well, Truesdale Show Studios are really busy. All right, so watch here. 1, 2, 3, 4 unique frames, and then we see a repeat. That I just went to the next frame. You didn't even see it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and another repeat. So that's half the battle. When we've used that field matcher, we're almost there. We've aligned it up so we know what fields go together, but we have not yet changed the frame rate to 23.976 instead of 29.97. So all we do is we add in the next command, which is tdecimate. Now, decimate actually means 1 in 10, although what it does by default is 1 in 5. It takes out every 5th frame, and what it does is it removes the frame that is most similar to the one next to it. And now I'm scrolling through, and I'll go backwards a little, and what you see is we have nice, unique frames every time. So that's it. The hard part really here is knowing how to load up your MPEG file. But once you can do that, you'll know how to inverse telecine and perform pull-down removal without using Adobe After Effects. So there you go. I guess the one other thing I should mention on pull-down removal, well, we'll get to that next time. I don't want to put too much into one video. So we'll see you in the next episode of Increase Your Nerdiness. Thanks for watching.
Sharpen pencils, clear your desk. It's time to increase your nerdiness with Derek.